Greetings everyone, welcome to Chess Advanced, and today with the white pieces we have Arjun Erigaisi and with the black pieces we have Fabiano Caruana. This game is from Norway Chess 2025, so definitely a battle of generations. And without further ado, let's start with this game. We have d4, d5, c4 and e6, just knight to f3 and knight to f6. And we have knight to c3, bishop to b4, just going for the queen's gambit decline. Also Ragozin defense, and we have a3, just pushing the bishop back. Bishop caps on c4, b captures, and c5, immediately striking in the center. And here just going for c captures, an immediate decision and the structure you would want to keep for the rest of the game. So here just e caps on d5, g3 and castles, and we have bishop to g2, but now just knight to e4, immediately striking in the center with the knight and also putting some pressure on that c3 pawn. And here well, Arjun just castles. So like if you want to capture that pawn, well, go right ahead. And here we have not capturing, obviously you wanted to finish your development first. Rook to e8, queen to c2, but just captures, and we have knight captures, but now comes this knight to c6, attacking that knight. We have rook to d1 and here knight to a5. So both of these knights would come here and maybe put some pressure on on a lot of the squares, but nothing too fancy. Here rook to b1, but here just bishop to d7, rook to b4, and here just queen to f6, but now comes bishop to e3. And in this position, rook a to c8 was played. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on that, and it could get very nasty real quick. We have to be very much careful in this position. So simplifying the position a little bit, we have bishop caps on e4, just trading that knight with that for that bishop, and it could lead to a lot of issues because you have to understand that black still has light squared bishop, and you're parting base with yours, so your light squares are going to be very much weak. Here rook caps on e4, but here just knight to f3, and we have rook captures on b4, and here just a captures, attacking the knight. Knight moves, and black is threatening to ruin your pawn structure. So here just bishop to d4, attacking the queen. Queen to a6, but now just come knight to g5. Now just going for threatening that mate, and we have queen back to h6, just defending, and we have h4. And here just f6, knight to f3, and here just going for this a6 move, knight to e1, but just queen to d6. We have knight to d3, and here we have rook to e8. And this game is going to be all about white trying to not get checkmated. If that bishop lands in, it's going to be very much dangerous for white. So you're always going to have to keep that at the back of your head. Otherwise anytime it's just going to be very bad. So here queen to c1, but here queen to f7, and here rook to e1. We have b6, knight to b2, and just bishop to b5. So there's a lot of pressure here, and we have knight caps on c4, bishop captures, bishop caps on b6, bishop caps on e2, trading everything. Queen to d2, but now comes this queen to h5, and you can see what I said about that. It's starting to actually happen. Queen to f4, but now just rook to e4, attacking the queen. Queen to b8 check, king to f7, bishop to c5. Now all of these ideas are actually possible. So here just h6, king to h2, and queen to f3. And you can understand that that's what black is trying to do, to set up some kind of setup where black king won't get checked, and you'd be able to just get the bishop in, and maybe just try and go for that mate. But here just queen to b7 check, king moves, and now here rook to g1, king to h7, and here queen to a7. But now adding just extra defense here, and it's difficult to break the structure, but then you have to understand if bishop was here, it could be very much dangerous. As long as rook is guarding those squares, it might be fine, but you have to be careful. And it's a critical movement for black in this white in this position. I mean, what are you doing in this position? For black, I think it's better to go for d4 in this position. It would give you a nice edge. The idea behind d4 is that here after bishop caps on d4, you go bishop to c4, and here after bishop to e3, now you go bishop to e6. Now you understand all of these maneuvers trying to get the king into the game, and if not, you're gonna have to now sacrifice some pieces to be able to set up a defense. Here bishop rook to g2, but now just bishop to d5, and wherever the rook moves, it could get very, very nasty. So here just rook rook to g1. Even if now this comes and any of that, there is no mate in this position. So here just queen to h5, but now just rook to g2, and here after queen to f3, you pick rook to g1, queen to h5, rook to g2, and here after queen to f5, bishop to f4, attacking the queen. But now since you had to set up a defense, you're going to lose those pawns. And here after queen to d7, bishop to e6, attacking the queen, queen to d1, and rook caps on b4. And you can see black already has a pass pawn, and with the bishop guarding this square, you cannot hold on both sides of the board. You cannot just protect your king at the same time while also stopping this pawn. So black is going to be the one who's winning this game. But here after queen to a7, queen to f5 was played, missing all of this, and now that chance is not going to appear again, because here bishop to f8, now going for that mate. So queen blocks, but now here rook to e1, attacking the bishop. We have king to g8, but now just bishop to c5, and here queen to f5, but just queen to c7. And here in this position, in this, you have to find this king to h7, and only after rook to g1, just all you can do is just move it back and forth, because this bishop and the queen combo is just a bit too strong. And here after rook to c4, Now you'll go for g4, but a g4 looks absolutely scary, man, considering the fact that you're already weak on the light squares. You're just opening up your king even more. It's insane, but it works. That's the point. And only this way black can win, because here after bishop captures, now you go for rook to g3, and here after rook to e4, now just you get this queen to a7, rook to e2, and here after king to g2, queen to e4 check, king to h2 and h5. And yes, this rook has to hold on to everything. It's like it's holding on to dear life right now, kind of situation. And we have this bishop to f8, but just queen to g6, and here after this queen to d4. Now you try just a few more moves later, try and actually exchange, and here after queen captures, d captures, king to h2, but here after rook to c1. Now you're going to part ways with that pawn, I mean, either way, so there is no point about that. But then you have to understand that black has a bit too many pawns, and all you have is like scattered mess. I mean, you're not going to be able to hold this position. That's the issue. And that's what would have happened. But here after queen to c7, queen to f3, still just trying to go for the same ideas, but it's just not working. Here rook to g1 was played, but just h5, and now comes queen to d7, and here bishop to c4, but now this comes b5. And what are you doing? Bishop caps on b5 was played, attacking the queen. Queen captures on d5, and here just king to h7. And here in that game, obviously the check, so king had to move. So here just queen to d1 and rook to e2, but now just this queen to b1 check, and bishop blocks, and queen moves again to c1, but now just bishop to e4. And this just, I mean, the looks scary, but how are you ever proceeding? Because if you push those pawns, then bishop and queen are gonna harass your king. So there's nothing in this position. Queen to f4, but here just queen caps on c3, and here bishop to e3 was played, bishop to g6, and here g4, but just h captures, and now comes h5, just trying to kick that out of the way, but here just bishop caps on h5, and now comes queen to f5 check, and bishop to g6, and here after queen caps on g4. The situation is very, very volatile, and you have to find the best move in this position as black. And the only way you can do that, you can understand that your king is weak as well, and you might think like white's king is vulnerable. I have an outside pass pawn. I'm just winning, but that's not the case. What you have to play in this position is obviously not that. What you have to play in this position is queen to c7 check, and that's the only move that ensures a draw. Because after king to g2, you play queen to c6, and most likely, if rook to g3 comes, now you play queen to c2, and there is not much. I mean, even if you try this, like queen to f3, queen to c4, rook to h3, king to g8, queen to a8, then slowly but surely king is going to come up, and you have lost another pawn, but still king is so weak, it's going to be a draw. Queen to g8, but it's most likely going to be a draw. But here after queen caps on g4, we have queen to e5 with a check, but now just rook to g3, and now you have to understand that you don't have that kind of repetition, and also you're not saving you're not going to be able to save this king as well. Queen to h5 check, but here just rook to h3, and now you have to sacrifice and part ways with the queen. Queen caps on h3, queen captures on h3, and here just rook to king to g8. But maybe, just maybe, white can set up some sort of fortress, because you do have the rook, you do have different kinds of pawns, and all of this is actually protected, and you also have an outside pass pawn, so maybe something can happen. But it's just very, very difficult, because you have this bishop, you have this pawn. It's only one who's going to win this game is definitely going to be white. So here just queen to g4, bishop to d3, but just bishop to h6, rook to e7, bishop captures, and here just queen to g6, but now just rook caps on g7. We have queen to e8 check, king to h7, and here queen caps on e2. So you're now lost your bishop, and there's pretty much nothing you can do now, because here just rook to g5, queen caps on a6, king to g7, f4, and here rook to g4 was tried, but just f5, and here rook to b4, but here just king to g3. As far away the rook moves from the king, folks are diagonal folks are going to be there. We have this rook to b1, queen to a7 check, king to h6, but just queen to f7, and here rook to b3 check was played, and queen caps on b3, hanging a complete rook. Fabi and Arjun got this spectacular victory after an immense grind of 71 moves. That's absolutely insane, but that is what you have to endure if you want to beat a super GM, and Arjun absolutely did it in style. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll be coming back with games like these, so stay tuned to the channel, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you guys very, very soon. Thank you all.